Welcome to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid, Week 4 of the National Football League. Craig Mish along with George Kurtz with the very latest news and notes, a recap of the Thursday Night Football game, a look ahead to all the games this weekend. And if you are not ready Sunday morning, then you are not ready for fantasy football because we got an early start, George. 2 games on Monday night. Wacky slate, to say the least, but should be a lot of fun, I guess, for some. But in particular, this is a week where I think that you can't really set it and forget it, as they say, because there's so many injuries to keep an eye on. It feels like everybody's questionable this week.
Yeah, a lot of injuries. It is probably the story of the season. It was the quarterbacks. Now it's the wide receivers who are banged up here. And you mentioned, all right, we get our first European game on Sunday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern start. You got, depending on what kind of league you play and what your rules are, maybe your lineups have to be set by 9:30 first game, or maybe just those two teams have to be set by. And then we got 2 games Monday night here. So it's when it comes to lineup set time, you really want to take advantage of your flex position. If anybody in doubt there, put them in flex. This way you can maneuver and put somebody else who will make a claim there to replace that player should they be out. You know, if you have somebody on Pittsburgh or Minnesota who may or may not play at 9:30, right, and they get nailed late, so you can replace them for the 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock games, or even the Monday night games.
Yeah, we have a show here called Game Time Decisions, but it feels like everybody's in Game Time Decisions in fantasy football this week. All right, our headlines, let's get to it here. The quarterback injuries do continue in the National Football League. We got some better news potentially coming on a couple of quarterbacks. Brock Purdy, maybe plays this week. I guess we're just going to have to see about that. Also, Justin Fields could return, but some negative news as well as Jaden Daniels late Friday was ruled out, so he will not play this week for the Washington Commanders. The big story in the NFL this week was Jackson Dart getting the nod by Brian Daboll. He's going to make his first career start this week. It is a really tough start. Home or not, you got to go against the Chargers. That's not the optimal team to face. George and I will dive more into that. Terry McLaurin on Friday also deemed out for the Commanders. He will not need surgery, but he's going to miss this week. And Sunday, it sounds like the Cowboys are going to have to make a decision on CeeDee Lamb, not to play, but maybe to put on IR and to have somebody else take his spot for a while. So we certainly will see. But the Jaden Daniels, Terry McLaurin matchup this week, George, a lot of folks paired them up for the fantasy football season. Well, you're going to have to pare down, bump up Deebo Samuel a little bit in terms of fantasy and some of the other weapons that they have there. McLaurin not going to play this week for the Commanders. Here's who is going to play this week. It's going to be Jackson Dart. And look, there's no great time to have a rookie make his first career start. Let's just keep it real. But George, the Giants are 0-3. They're going against the Chargers. We all thought Dart would start, but this feels a lot like desperation to me. And track records for quarterbacks that are rookies is already very murky at best. I have some real concerns this week going into this game. I mean, I know the line is 6.5 or 7. I'm generally not laying those kind of points in that game, but man, I could see the Giants coming out of this without even scoring. I'm very worried for this.
That's putting it nicely. All right. And as you said, it's just not a great spot. I understand it's the home game, but I think I might have done next week against New Orleans if I'm going to make this move on the Giants. Get a little easier game there. But I'm also the first to tell you that after New Orleans, it's Philadelphia, Denver, Philadelphia, San Francisco, whatever you think about Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit, New England, Washington. I mean, the schedule is just brutal is what I'm trying to tell you. There really is no perfect spot for them. So I do think this is a little bit of, hey, Brian Daboll going, I got to try and save my job. All right, we look terrible. All right, I mean, absolutely awful here. Russell Wilson's not the answer, which we all knew that anyway. Maybe Dart can give us some positive publicity. Maybe. But you are putting up against the Chargers team that looks like, I may not quite put them, Craig, quite with Buffalo, but they're not that far away either. Damn good team. I know West Coast team traveling to the East Coast, 1 o'clock game generally doesn't go well for the West Coast team. But yeah, I think I'm going to like the Chargers a bunch on Sunday. I still would have done this next week if I'm the Giants.
I agree.
But in the end, it may not mean all that much difference. Hey, by the way, if you're a Malik Neighbors owner, I think you want Dart because that was a joke last week. He's not even targeting Neighbors in the first half.
Yeah, no, I think that's the one benefit to it. But, when you look at the Giants, George, like the thing is Cam Scatterbo, who I love, and I think he's going to be really good in the NFL, getting 4 yards. But like nobody is scared of the running game of the Giants, and they're not scared of Dart going into this game. So I mean, I think the Chargers defense is just going to back it up and say, "Don't beat us late. Behind us, we'll just play up and we'll take our shots here." So It's not like they have some breakaway running back like Tracy was. He's out this week. So, yeah, a lot of issues there. All right, let's go to Thursday night football. Let's break down what we saw, George, on Thursday night, which I thought was a really entertaining game. It came down to the finish. The game was only close because Jason Myers attempted a very long field goal that he missed, which kind of put the Cardinals back into the game. So credit to them for rallying. But it did appear for most of the game that Seattle was the better football team. So I definitely want to give credit to what they accomplished. You know, the running game was okay. Jackson Smith and Jigba did very well in the second half. And now Seattle's put themselves in a much better position than they were. But I, for the life of me, George, can't figure out what the Cardinals are trying to do, because I think on paper, when you look at it, they may have the better quarterback. They may have the best receiver on the field. They may have the best running back on the field, even with Trey Benson. But they didn't seem particularly interested in like having some sort of game plan. It was very, very strange for me to watch until the end. And then it was like, okay, now we have to play. It was weird.
It was a strange game. I know watching the game, the questions that were going through my mind is, when can the Cardinals get out from Murray's contract? You know, release and move on, because he just doesn't look good. All right. Then it was like, okay, when are they going to fire the head coach? You know, it just looks terrible. I said, it was disjointed. It was weird. What's going on with Marvin Harrison? For a guy who's all ballyhooed coming out of college, I understand year one's a little rough, right? First year in the NFL, maybe you don't have chemistry with Murray, the offense, you don't know Cole yet. I get all that. But this is now year two. You've had a full off season, yet you still don't look good. And then you're right, the last half of the fourth quarter, everything seemed to come together. Harrison catches the touchdown pass. Murray looks good here. You know, if not for that kicker, and by the way, I was on the under end Seattle. I was very happy that Ryland kicked that ball short and they kicked the field goal, win the game, we move on here. Because I'd have flipped if I lost either one of those bets. They were locks. Right? In fourth quarter, I was counting my money already. But then Ryland kicks the ball short, you lose the game on the field goal attempt there. So it was a weird game. You were bad for 3+ quarters, then you were good for a quarter. Craig, I'm still disappointed last week. You lost to a 49ers team. If you want me to take you seriously, you cannot lose to a 49ers team that was without Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, the quarterback, Brock Purdy. Nick Bosa left the game with an injury, right? You can't lose to that team. If you want me to take you seriously, you can't lose to that game here. Yet you did, and you scored 15 points in the process here. They look to be the worst team in the NFC West.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to agree. Although I will say Harrison did get 10 targets and 6 catches and 66 yards. My biggest takeaway in fantasy was, okay, maybe there's something to build on there. Like, I understand that he's dropped balls every once in a while, and I understand that once every time 3 routes they're throwing to you're throwing to him and he's not even there. I get it. But you still drafted him, as George said, super high. Like, you have to figure this out. You can't give up. You can't be throwing to Michael Wilson all the time. And Dortch is just not going to work. By the way, for Seattle, Kenneth Walker, 81 yards in the game. And Charbonnet did end up playing in this one and definitely contributed to hurt Walker by getting the carries that he did. So a different story there. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba, who we talked about, had a really nice second half, I would say. And, to flip it over to Seattle here, George, for a minute, I think fantasy-wise, you're kind of getting exactly what you thought. Maybe not the huge numbers, I would say, from them. But look, just like when they played against the Saints, Seattle is not going to have super tough matchups every week. And this was just, for fantasy, you have guys on Seattle, you're feeling kind of good. Hey, look, we escaped with this one. I know I'm going to get some home games in the future. Really nothing to complain about here. Although Smith and Jigba has been so good thus far, I guess last night was a little bit of a letdown.
I would say it's a little bit of a letdown last night, but the bigger concern, by the way, I'll be negative Ned here. Cooper Kupp. I mean, Craig.
Oh, well, come on. I mean, we talked about this. Come on. There's nothing to say.
You're probably dropping him.
It's over.
You're probably moving on from him, especially during the bye weeks coming
George,
up here when you need a replacement.
We did this in the preseason, okay? His career's over, right? We didn't. This was the one thing we did. Look, I'm wrong about everything. I'm 0-3, but this was the one of the things I got right. All right, panic meter coming up on some players in fantasy you may have on your team. We'll address it next. Aaron Rodgers, 2-year stint with the Jets that he'll never want to remember when he goes into the Hall of Fame. He'll just say, please don't mention that. Now he's with Pittsburgh, and he had his best game since Green Bay. Threw 5 touchdowns. Is it 5, right? Am I right about that, Sam? I don't want to screw this up, too. 4 touchdown passes. Yeah, I've screwed up again. 4 touchdown passes against the New York Jets. Buy or sell, Aaron Rodgers will finish the season as a QB1 in a 12-team league, top 12 fantasy quarterback. Buy or sell.
You know, the cop-out here is he stays healthy, yes, right? He'll do it. It's not asking a lot, top 12. Purdy's already not going to be top 12, right? He's already going to miss this week, probably another week, maybe as much as 5, they've said. So you knock him out there. There'll be other quarterbacks that get hurt, so you knock them out. I don't think he'd ever get top 5, top 6, top 8. But the 9 to 12, I hate to say it, he wasn't bad last year with the Jets, right? They didn't win games, but he wasn't bad. He had it when he played. He was a good, solid quarterback. You know, he can still sling it. He still can. I'm the first to admit those 4 touchdowns. It wasn't like he had a monster game. A couple of his interceptions were dropped. You know, that should have been picked off there. It seems like he did complete work for touchdowns. A couple of breakdowns by the Jets as well. So I don't see him really as going to win a league for you. But I'm going to buy this. If he stays healthy, hell, just give me 15 games. And I think he can be top 12. So I'll buy this.
I'm going to sell it. Yeah. I mean, games against the Browns and games against the Ravens. And look, I don't know if the Jets defense is as bad as they've showed. If it is, then this may be his best game of the season. So, yeah, I'm going to sell. I think he's on the outside of this looking in.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
3 weeks into the fantasy football season, is it time to hit the panic button on some players that you drafted? George and I will break it down and talk about some of the underperforming players in fantasy football. George, let's start off with the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, after last week, it's like full-on panic, but how about the rest of the season? Drake London, great wide receiver there, who I think if you have, you're like, is Kirk Cousins still on this team? I know he may throw some picks, but I think I want him back. What's your panic meter there, George, on Drake London?
I mean, you're certainly paying attention, right? Because that wasn't good. I mean, that was awful last week. You lost 30-0 to Carolina. That can't happen. Right? It just can't happen here. I am, now what, this is calm, concerned, worried, or panicked. I am concerned. All right, so I'm concerned with Drake London. I think that's fair because it's not him. It's Michael Penix. You know, he only started 6 games last year, Craig. I mean, this really is, whatever you want to call it, an extension of his rookie season. You know, we like him, but he's going to go through some growing pains here. So I am concerned that if you drafted London to be a wide receiver 1, which you might have done, you know, yeah, it's not paying off right now. And the problem is, as you sort of mentioned here, you know, 3 weeks in, you can't go 0-4. If you're 1-2, you really want to win this week. Anything else, you're okay, right? But if you're 0-3, this is a must-win week. You have to win. And I can see some people having some tough choices here. You're starting London this week. All right, it's Washington. You already talked about earlier in the show. There's no Jaden Daniels, no McLaurin. Yeah. It should go well for the Falcons, but I'm definitely concerned.
Yeah, I'm calm on this one. I actually see it completely different because I do think that at the end of the season, his numbers are going to be similar. But, you know, the other thing that I think will happen is, George, I think that Penix is one of those quarterbacks that is in a situation with a team that seems to be willing to pull the trigger kind of quick. I mean, they did it last season with Penix and Cousins. They literally just fired guys on their staff after less than a month of the season. I think that if Penix struggles, George, this week, I think Kirk Cousins is going to take back over starting quarterback of the Falcons. I just think that's the case. And then London goes back to being London. So I'm kind of calm on this one. Now, I don't have London in any league. Not that I'm worthy of any advice anyway with the season I'm having. But, you know, for me, I just think in the end of the season, he'll be okay. His numbers will be there. All right, let's get to Ladd McConkey of the Los Angeles Chargers coming off a monster season and a monster second half.
This won't be the worried, all right? There's nothing wrong with McConkey. The problem is, boy, Keenan Allen looks really good. Right, he's turning the clock back. He's catching balls. So he looks like the Allen of old here. And Quentin Johnson also can catch the ball. Right, he's making deep plays here. So there's there's more targets, right, for Herbert to look at. It's not just, okay, where's McConkey? Where's McConkey? Where's McConkey? He's got other guys he can look at here. And also second year, maybe it's a little rough McConkey. There is film on him. Yeah, defense is trying to take him away. Once again, you're starting him. I'm not benching Ladd McConkey, but yeah, I'm a little worried here that this may not be quite what I thought it was going to be with Ladd because of the other receivers. It's a great problem for the Chargers to have, not great for fantasy owners.
Yeah, so I'm a McConkey guy. I got McConkey in my leagues. So, yeah, I mean, I'm with you, George, not to the, George is always going to be a little bit over the top, keep in mind with this stuff. But I am definitely concerned. I don't understand how, and look, it's helping and they're playing really well. So who am I to judge? But I don't understand how you did not have Keenan Allen and you picked him up a month before the season started. And now all of a sudden he's like the primary target there. So I guess the Bears got it wrong. I guess the league got it wrong. I guess Keenan Allen can still play. But the thing for me, George, is that if anything was to happen with one of these other wide receivers, I think McConkey would go back to being who he is. I am concerned, but I'm not really worried yet. I would say that's kind of where I'm at. Still getting 10 points a game. All right, so now let's get to a player who was taken in the first round of every fantasy football draft, and thus far has produced the least points, George. I mean, I thought you'd just take a rookie running back in the first round and you get yourself 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. But Boise State's Ashton Jeanty for the Las Vegas Raiders, we got out of excuses, right? Like at this point, it's, they got to give him the ball more. They got to do this. They got to do that. I mean, George, does this guy look like Barry Sanders? Like that was the comparisons? Like, I haven't seen any of that yet.
Our panicometer, it doesn't go high enough here. All right, because this is, I mean, come on, we're freaking out here. I don't think it's all Jeanty, by the way. He has more yards after contact than before contact. That pretty much lets you know what the problem is there. All right, the Raiders needed a running back, sure, but they need an offensive line. All right, they need a couple of offensive linemen. It's not something you can fix in one off season here. So yeah, we're gonna eat it with Jeanty. He's not gonna be worth the first round pick in fantasy. It's just not. Not this year. Man, future years we'll see here, but not this year. The offensive line is not very good. The defense is not very good, so they have to throw the ball more in the second because they're trailing every game. So that's hurting us as well here. So yeah, like I said, the panicometer, it doesn't go high enough for this. Okay, I am more than concerned. I am not calm. I am critical. I am flipping out because I have him in a league. I'm actually undefeated in that league, but I'm not getting anything from him. Do I bench him for DeAndre Swift? That's what it's coming down to this week for me. Do I take Swift over?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely worried here. So in watching Jeanty as much as I did in college, maybe some of you didn't watch him in college, but this is kind of how it went. 1 carry, 3 yards. 1 carry, 4 yards. 1 carry, 6 yards. 1 carry, 72 yards, George. Touchdown. Ashton Jeanty, Heisman Trophy. Like, that's what I'm waiting for here. Like, isn't there going to be a time where he just breaks it free? George, like, what you said is not false. But I think there's a point being missed here. Why has he not broken free one time the whole season? Not once. To just run away. Like, he's Devin Singletary right now. No offense to Devin Singletary, but that's who he is. Nothing. And I love Jeanty.
It's fair.
George and I see it the same on Sam Laporta of Detroit. We don't have to spend too much time here. We both feel like this is going to work out in the long term.
It's tight end. Unless you get one of the top ones, you're okay here. The Lions are scoring 1,000 points a game. Sooner or later, it will be Laporta time. So, yeah, I'm calm with Laporta. What are you going to do? You're going to drop him? There's no tight end out there in your league to go get here. I guess maybe Hunter Henry, but I wouldn't be dropping him for anybody. No, Laporta will be fine. I'm calm with him.
All right, we got to take a quick time out here on Newswire. Waiver wire starting to get hot in fantasy football, or on FST, excuse me. I do another show here called Newswire. My producer, Sam, just reminded me of that. It gets confusing because I think I'm the only one that does 2 shows here on the network with 2 different titles. Like other people fill in on shows. I have 2. One is Newswire. I host it. Another one's FST, and I host it. Aaron Rodgers, 2-year stint with the Jets that he'll never want to remember. When he goes into the Hall of Fame, he'll just say, please don't mention that. Now he's with Pittsburgh, and he had his best game since Green Bay. Threw 5 touchdowns. Is it 5, right? Am I right about that, Sam? I don't want to screw this up, too. 4 touchdown passes. Yeah, I've screwed up again. 4 touchdown passes against the New York Jets. Buy or sell, Aaron Rodgers will finish the season as a QB1 in a 12-team league, top 12 fantasy quarterback. Buy or sell.
You know, the cop-out here is he stays healthy at Jets, right? He'll do it. It's not asking a lot, top 12. Purdy's already not going to be top 12, right? He's already going to miss this week, probably another week, maybe as much as 5, they've said. So you knock him out there. There'll be other quarterbacks that get hurt, so you knock them out. I don't think he'd ever get top 5, top 6, top 8. But the 9 to 12, I hate to say it, he wasn't bad last year with the Jets, right? They didn't win games, but he wasn't bad. He had it when he played. He was a good, solid quarterback. You know, he can still sling it. He still can. I'm the first to admit those 4 touchdowns. It wasn't like he had a monster game. A couple of his interceptions were dropped. You know, that should have been picked off there. It seems like he did complete work for touchdowns. A couple of breakdowns by the Jets as well. So I don't see him really he's going to win a league for you. But I'm going to buy this. If he stays healthy, hell, just give me 15 games. And I think he can be top 12. So I'll buy this.
I'm going to sell it. Yeah. I mean, games against the Browns and games against the Ravens. And look, I don't know if the Jets defense is as bad as they've showed. If it is, then this may be his best game of the season. So, yeah, I'm going to sell. I think he's on the outside of this looking in.
Fantasy Sports Today. Fridays starting at 3 p.m. Eastern. Only on SportsGrid.
Not sure it's a good sign or a bad sign with me having such a bad fantasy season thus far that the number 1 player we're going to talk about on the waiver wire is the guy that I picked up to start this week. So you may want to avoid this one. Geno Smith of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's on the waiver wire. And why in the world would you pick Geno Smith up? Well, I mean, George, let's be honest. This is a fantastic matchup, right? Like if the Raiders, they may not win this game, but if Geno Smith doesn't go off and Gentry doesn't go off and Jacoby doesn't get back to who he was and Bowers, like this is a game the Raiders should lose 41-40 or something. I know that's not going to happen, but you get the point, right? Like if it's not going to happen offensively for the Raiders this week, it's not going to happen.
I mean, he had a very good numbers in garbage time last week against Washington, right? Well, what is that?
True.
But that's sort of what he is. And listen, fantasy points are points. We don't care when you get them as long as you get them. But in some ways, he does need, where he's just going to go back there and throw the ball 45 times. That's what he needs to rack up those points here. He does have a very good matchup this week against the Chicago Bears. We know they're beat up in the secondary. All right, so we do expect good things from your Raiders this week. I have Geno in 2 leagues. I don't think I've started him once this year. He's a backup in both. I am starting him in both this week. All right, so I'm starting him over Daniel Jones, because Jones, I think, has a tougher matchup with the Rams here. So that should let you know my thinking there. And in the other league, I'm starting him over Michael Penix. I'm an easier choice because of what's going on with Penix here. Is he going to throw a pick or 2? It's quite possible. He's not going to help me with the rushing yardage. So I need him to throw for 275 plus and 2+ touchdowns. That's what I'm looking for this week out of Geno. But yeah, I think he is a good start this week.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's move on from the quarterback position. Hopefully it's good for me. And to the running back position, Monday Night Football. And it's kind of rare when you'd pick up someone to start on Monday night. It's kind of like you're waiting the whole week to see if this is even worth starting. But Ollie Gordon did look really good against Buffalo. So I suppose that's a good sign for him. Who knows really, George, where the Dolphins are headed, what this team will even look like in a few weeks. But I guess here would be my point. If there's a team that's 0-3 out there, George, and there's somebody that's starting to get playing time on that team, even if he's not a starter, if the team punts, so to speak, in the second half, this is a perfect example of a guy that if Miami was to move A-Chain or move Tyreek Hill or the Jets were to move some players to, you want the backups there because then they become fantasy starters and maybe league winners at the end of the season. So I think that's the category for me with Ollie Gordon. I don't think I can start him right now unless something crazy happens this weekend. Like Jalen Warren showed up on the injury report. Like, let's say Sunday I get into that and all of a sudden I can't play him. That would be the kind of move. But this is more of a stash for me. He did look good, though, against the Buffalo Bills.
He did. 38 yards on 9 carries. Other than that, he really hasn't had the opportunity before last week. All right, he had, 2 rushes, 1 rush, 9. So all of a sudden he's getting more here for whatever it's worth. Jets are going to be without their best defensive player in Williams. He's gone. So something to be said for that. But I agree with you. He's a stash. You're not starting him yet, but he's a stash here. A chain's not going anywhere. Tyreek Hill could be traded. That wouldn't shock me, but a chain's not going to be a movie. So he is going to be the number 1 guy, but he does get hurt. And every backup running back has value, all right, because running backs get hurt. And, hey, our bye weeks are coming up where you'll take 6 to 8 points rather than 0, right? Yeah, so Ollie Gordon should be rostered, but not started this week.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, Woody Marks in the same category, I think, as Ollie Gordon. I mean, I don't know what's going on with Houston, although I can unequivocally say they have one of the worst offensive lines in football. I mean, that's a foregone conclusion. I mean, Stroud immediately, George is running the other way. But look, Nick Chubb, I love him. He's had a great career. It's over. Woody Marks, George, at some point is going to take over and start.
I would probably agree with you. He's another guy who's a stash. Probably one of my more favorite stash because I think he will start eventually, and he doesn't need an injury to do so. But you already said the problem. That offensive line is putrid. It is bad. All right. You're not going to get big things from him, but once again, if he's a starting running back, we'll take that run here. Most of us don't have 2, more than someone to put in a flex.
Luther Burden of the Chicago Bears had the matchup of a lifetime against your Dallas Cowboys last week. Oof, gosh, do I want to play everybody against Dallas. 5 catches, 103 yards, and a touchdown. I'm excited. I think this kid is going to be good long term, but those numbers are not going to be repeatable unless he plays against your Dallas Cowboys.
Thanks. I'll be on In-Game Live this Sunday night. I'm sure it's going to go real well for me.
Oh, that'll be great.
Yeah, that'll be just fantastic. Start Jordan Love, boys and girls. Romeo Doubs, start him. Going to be a big day for Green Bay. My only problem with Burden is going to be, Adunze. All of a sudden, he's that first-round guy, right, from last year. He looks great. DJ Moore is there. So a lot of mouths to feed here. But Burden's going to be a good player. I was surprised they drafted him. They really didn't need a wide receiver. They needed help other areas here. Already had Adunze and Moore. But Burden's going to be a good wide receiver, yes. But there are going to be weeks that you just can't feed everybody.
I love what they're building. And I think the Bears are going to be good. It's just not going to happen right now. For your Dallas Cowboys.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in,
right? It's more so. Right. Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquil Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Sunday morning, first game of the day is overseas in Dublin. It's the Vikings and the Steelers, so you got to get those lineups set. So, George, there's a couple of takeaways I have, and I'll go through them, and I'd love your opinion. Obviously, that's why you're here for this. So I think the Steelers, definitely not as good as their record shows. They could have easily lost to New England. They played awful. New England should have won. I also think that the Minnesota's a little overvalued here. I don't think they're going to beat anybody else by 38 points. But the final thing that I'd like to add to this, George, I'm starting to think that this is the case. I don't know that Brian Flores is ever going to be a head coach again in the NFL. You know all the other stuff that's going on with the lawsuit stuff. But this guy's an incredible defensive coordinator. Like the Vikings defense may be one of the very best in the NFL, and for fantasy, may be worth playing every single week. So I just don't think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. I like the under, and I hope if you're a Jefferson guy that Wentz can catch, throw 5 times to him for 50 yards. The Steelers have some injuries too that they're dealing with. I just don't. It's a fantasy game of the week for us because it's a standalone game. I just don't love the fantasy outcome in this one.
Oh, I agree with all points there. Right? Usually the games in Europe are lower scoring as it is anyway, for whatever reason. I want to see what Carson Wentz can do. I think he's going to start next week as well. It's another game. Well, this one's in Dublin. The next one's in London, whatever it might be. So I think he starts both here before we have to worry about J.J. McCarthy again. Jordan Mason looks really good, right? Looks actually a little better than Aaron Jones did. Hawkinson was valuable last week as well as he's getting back into the swing of things. The Steelers are not good. They've been outgained this season, but they've got the turnovers. I mean, New England is still turning the ball over. They should have lost last week. You're starting all your normal guys here. You're probably starting DK Metcalf. I don't expect big things from him. I'm probably not going with Jonnu Smith, but maybe if depending on what you have here. I don't think the running backs in Pittsburgh are going to do much of anything as well. Just so to back your point, I just don't see fantasy goodness coming out of this game really for anybody, but you're starting your normal characters.
The Saints and Bills. This to me, George, smells exactly like last week with Seattle. This is what I suspected, George, when we did the show last week, that the Saints, why people were buying into a couple of home starts where they're arguably the very best at home over any other National Football League team, George, through the years in that Mercedes-Benz Dome. The second they go on the road, they get killed. Guess what's going to happen this week? They're going to get killed again. Buffalo is going to crush them. Now, look, could the score be, George, 41-28? Yeah, I mean, it could, because the Saints could come back late and score some points. But Buffalo is the very best offensive play on the board. Like, I would not play Ray Davis this week, George, but I could see Ray Davis scoring a touchdown. I think it's going to be that kind of game. Now, when the Saints get back home, they're going to play. They're not going to go 0-17. But this is where they're going to lose, George, would you say, some of the emphasis on not caring, but knowing the season's kind of over now at this point? I think they hit that thud moment last week.
Yeah, last week that was a beating, and this is going to be another beating. All right, and I'm not really against Ray Davis because I think I sort of look at the other way. Oh, I better get my Josh Allen points early because they might bench him in the second half. That sort of things. I'm worried about that. So like that game against the Jets where he got banged up and he didn't really do much because they didn't even do anything. The game was over. Same thing's going to happen here. This game will be over, if not before halftime, shortly thereafter. All right, so we want to get our fantasy points there. So you're starting everybody on Buffalo. New Orleans, hey, Kamara goes here. Olave's getting a truckload of targets. And Jawan Johnson, right? And you're going with these guys because there's going to be a lot of passes coming here from Rattler. Don't know if I'd have the guts to start Rattler in a Superflex league, but I think I might think about it. He's going to have to throw the ball 40-plus times.
Colts and Rams should be another fun one this week, with the Colts now all of a sudden being super fantasy relevant, the best running back in fantasy football this season. Barring an injury, George, I mean, I don't think it's a hot take to say. I think Jonathan Taylor is going back to being the number one running back in fantasy. Again, he seems really healthy and really good. Offensive line is blocking. Let me ask you this, George. On the Rams side, first of all, let me give credit to Stafford for being healthy and him feeding the guys that they're feeding. Does it feel to you that they're a little conservative, though? It feels like they're kicking field goals on fourth down and not really attacking like they usually do. And maybe that's because they want to protect Stafford. I'm not really sure, but the Rams have been playing to their team total unders and game unders. And I wonder what your thoughts on that, with having Devontae on one side and Nakua on the other side and Kyron Williams, but they're really, they're not putting up 40 points.
Well, you said it. They're settling for field goals. Or maybe you should roll the dice a little bit, which is a little unusual for McVay. right, to settle for those field goals. It cost you last week. You had a major red zone problems. No problem getting to 20-20, but in the red zone, you couldn't push it across. And that's, like I said, I know there was a couple of blocked field goals there, but you would have scored those touchdowns, even half of them. You don't have to worry about the field goal. Game's over here. But you kept settling for field goals. And generally, when you're settling for field goals, you're settling for a loss here. So, yeah, it's week 4. Maybe that's still a work in progress. But Adams looks good. Nakua looks fantastic. And Stafford is healthy. I still don't think he's going to play every game. I'd be shocked if he plays 17 games. But while he's healthy, you're starting the guys you mentioned. Those 4, the core 4, they go here. The Colts, Jonathan Taylor is probably your MVP, your offensive MVP. We know a quarterback's going to get MVP.
Right.
But he's probably your offensive MVP. He looks great. And I think you're right. Right now, he's definitely your number 1 pick next year, the way he looks. Utterly fantastic. Pittman is a guy who goes for you. As I said, Daniel Jones, I have a tough decision. I like Daniel Jones. But this week I'm going with Smith over just for the matchup here. I think the Rams will keep Jones in check. I think he'll be solid, but I think he'll keep Jones in check. And I do like the Rams to win the game.
Okay, makes sense. Ravens and Chiefs. This is the who's going to lose 3 games bowl. I don't know why no one focuses ever on the positive. Everyone's focused on the negative. Whoever loses is out. 4 games in. Come on, please. Ravens, great offense, no defense. Chiefs, great defense, no offense. So all the Ravens you play, do you play any Chiefs, George, this week? You Travis Kelce, right? Is Worthy may play, right? It seems like Worthy could play, so maybe he is now in play.
I mean, the way that you attack the Ravens is with the run game. That's what Buffalo did. We started last week with the Detroit Lions, but the Chiefs don't have a run game, right? Conta, Pacheco. I mean, they couldn't really do much damage against the Giants there. I know Hunt got to the end zone. So, I mean, I have Pacheco in the league, and I'm still debating. And I think I'm starting Travion Henderson over him. So that's how much I don't know about the run game taking advantage of this. I like the Ravens to win this game, by the way. I think they'll have enough. We know their offense is good. They can score points. They just can't stop anybody. But I don't know if the Chiefs have enough there to take advantage of it. We do expect Xavier Worthy to play. I think he'll be on a pitch count. You know, I don't think he's going to play every play like you normally would here. So am I going to start him? Depends on what else is on your roster. I sort of lean no. I don't like starting guys first game back from injury. They might get hurt. They might play less than we think. I think he'll be very touchdown dependent.
So I think that there's, a few more games on the board that really intrigue me. I mentioned it before. Maybe George and I are not on the same page with this Bears game against the Raiders. Like, I mean, I think, George, that the Bears in a couple of years are going to be good, but the reason why I'm bringing this up is I watched the Bears play against Dallas. I think there was a lot of opportunities, George, for Dak and those guys to get going. I mean, the Lamb injury, I think, just sort of flattened everything. But that's why I like the Raiders this week. I think they may win. I think they're going to put up a lot of points against Chicago. If the Cowboys don't have the worst defense in the NFL, I think it is the Bears. Not to say that the Raiders are good, but I think this is going to be a Genty week. I do. And I think the Raiders are going to put up 3 or 4 touchdowns in this game. I don't know that they'll win, but I think that the offense is coming this week.
Oh, no, you and I are on the same page. You made the joke earlier about 41-40. I don't know how funny that is because it wouldn't shock me. I think this is going to be a game where neither team can stop the other. You know, it's going to be a 35-31, whatever it might be. Yeah. If there was an over-under on touchdowns in this game, I would probably set it at 7, 6.5, 7.5. That's a lot of touchdowns. Yep. Yeah, yep. So I'm with you. I think this is fantasy goodness. You have a Raider. This is one of those games I like to say. If you have somebody on the Raiders or somebody on the Bears and you're not starting them this week, you either have a lot of depth or they shouldn't be on your roster. All right, because they go this week. I think it's going to be maybe the highest scoring total of the week as far as both teams here. Green Bay may score 48 points on their own against the Cowboys, but these two teams should score, like I said, easily the over for me in this game.
Yeah, I think if the Packers had come back and survived that game against Cleveland, I would love Dallas this week in a horrible spot. But because of that, George, I'm scared again for you. Sorry.
It's a pissed off Packers team, right? You can't lose that game against Cleveland. And the Cowboys, remember the Cowboys are missing 2 guys on their offensive line as well. They're going to get crushed like a bug.
We'll be right back.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
He's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in,
right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. Time now for us to answer some burning questions in fantasy football. George and I will go back and forth on these. Maybe it'll help you out, maybe not. It's a little game of buy or sell. Boy, Marvin Harrison's fantasy football season nearly came to an end in the first half of the game last night against the Seattle Seahawks. Like, this thing was down to the I hate you level, right? Like, it had to be. And then all of a sudden, this guy came alive in the second half of the game. I mean, he looked every bit the player that he was in the first round. George, Marvin Harrison Jr., owners of him in fantasy should sell high, trade him as fast as you can. Buy or sell.
All right, he had a nice game last night, right? He ended up being at about 18 points fantasy-wise with the touchdown. I get you could try. I don't know if you can be able to fool fantasy owners. Because he had one decent game here. He still looked bad for 3 quarters yesterday, right? He didn't continue a route once. An interception that's going to be a credit to DeMurray was really his fault. He had the ball in his hands and it blooped out. That he gave up there. I understand the question, so I guess this is a buy, but I don't think you'll be able to do it unless you want to take 80 cents on the dollar. Because if you offered Marvin Harrison to me, all right, I'm probably going to listen, depending on what I have on my roster, but I'm not paying you full price. I'm not paying you if you draft him in the 3rd, 4th round, play him in the 3rd or 4th round. No, you get a 7th round player from me. I'll take a chance that this is going to be a turning point for him. So yeah. I think this is a buy. I just don't think you're going to be able to get what you want from him.
I'm selling. I don't know. I think that Arizona found the secret sauce in the second half. Like, I think that you have to force feed this guy. I think you have to force feed Marvin Harrison in order to get him going. I'm going to sell. I want to hang on to him. I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts, but I just think that this is the time. All right. So this is the question that a lot of the other shows are asking this week, non-betting shows. The loser of the Ravens-Chiefs. Generally speaking, teams that are 1-3, George, in the NFL, I think I saw the data on this. It says 15% of teams that that start 1-3 make the playoffs. So that would mean the loser of the Ravens-Chiefs is likely out. Do you buy that? Buy or sell?
Listen, I think the Ravens are going to win the game, so I'm going to direct this towards the Chiefs. They'll be 1-3. I don't think they're going to win the division no matter what. Even if they win this game, I don't think they win the division. I think that might be the charge. I just think the Chiefs are all that good. That being said, we don't know really about the Chiefs yet because, hey, Worry's been out. And Rashee Rice will be back in week 7. So that's really when we'll see what the Chiefs are. So if they go 1-3, I mean, they'll be behind Denver, the Chargers, Jacksonville, Pittsburgh. That's it. That's it. Everybody else is 1-2 here. There'll be a game behind me. No. They're not out of the playoffs. They may not make the playoffs, mind you, but they're not out of the playoffs. So I'm going to sell this. I think they'll still. It's too early. It's 1-3. You win a couple of games, you're 3-3. If they can just hold serve somewhat, you'll be fine once you get your injuries back. Like I said, I think Baltimore was going to win, so I'm directing this towards the Chiefs. I don't think they'll be out. I certainly don't think Baltimore will be out if they lose. They have injuries as well. It's a big part of their problem here. So I'm selling this. No, I'm not giving up on either team if they lose this week.
All right. Yeah, I do too. I think that this falls into the 15% for me. I think that the team that loses still can make the playoffs. I am going to sell this along with George. All right, Caleb Williams off to a really good start this season, and part of it was getting that game against Dallas. I beat that to bleep at this point, so I'll stop. Caleb Williams will finish the season as a top 7 fantasy quarterback. Buy or sell?
Well, we have a lot of injuries, all right? So you're taking Burrow's gone, right? Jaden Daniels is now going to miss another game here, so that's going to hurt him. Allen, Jackson, Hurts, Herbert are all going to be ahead of him. Daniel Jones looks like he could be ahead of him, right? Because he's having a really good season. I know that's I can't believe I just said that. But it is. What about Jordan Love? Bo Nix, Baker Mayfield. All right, losing Mike Evans hurts here. Bottom line is this. He stays healthy, they're going to be trailing. That defense is not good. They're going to be trailing in a lot of games. A lot of opportunities to throw some balls here. I already went over their wide receivers, Dunze, Burton. You got DJ Moore. An adequate running game. At least they keep defense's offense here. I'm buying this. All right, I am buying this. I think top 7 is top 10 would be a definite. Top 7 is a little closer for me, but I'm going to buy this, Craig. Yeah, I'm feeling some optimistic about Caleb.
I'm feeling optimistic, but top 7? That feels really high. Top 7?
It's tough to name 7.
Is it tough to name 7? All right. I mean, Allen and Jackson.
Allen, Jackson, Hurts, Herbert.
Right. Yeah.
I'll give you Daniel Jones. That's 5. Then who? The guys around
Love?
Jordan Love. He's not done all that well so far. Baker Mayfield. I might give you Baker.
Yes, Baker
Right.
Mayfield. Yeah, this is too close. I'm selling. This is too close. Too close.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Can't do it. Top 10, I'm in. Top 10, I'm in. Nah,
That's fair.
can't do top 7. Yeah, but look, I mean, you like what you saw, George? You're certainly entitled to that. All right, the Cleveland Browns. How did they win that game last week? That was crazy. Crazy finish. Feeling like that was a horrible bet, getting 7.5, and felt like the best bet in the world when they won the game outright. The Cleveland Browns will have a top 5 draft pick. So we can play the same game here, George. Are they one of the worst 5 teams in the NFL? George and I are both in agreement that the Saints are the worst team. But after that, what do you think?
I mean, yeah. I think the defense is great. The defense is really good. Jordan Love, I don't know how you throw the interception, buddy. But the defense is really good here. That being said, you played Detroit, Minnesota. That's the other game in England. Pittsburgh, Miami, New England. I mean, there are winnable games here. Miami, New England, Jets. Vegas is on your schedule. Tennessee, Chicago. Certainly winnable games here. But once again, can we name 5 teams that are,
I can name 3. Yeah.
New Orleans,
I could do
Giants.
3. Right. I got
Jets.
one more easy. I'm not sure about them. I got one more, though. Nah.
Please don't do it.
No, Tennessee. Tennessee.
Tennessee, okay.
Tennessee.
I laugh, but the Cowboys might be.
Sam did another good question. It's close. What do you got? Buy or sell?
I'll say buy. I'm buying this. I think they are top 5, yes.
I'll sell. No, I think their defense is good enough. And all of a sudden, we haven't seen Shedeur Sanders play yet. That's coming soon. That's
better than half the quarterbacks in the NFL. Did you hear him?
You're a Dallas Cowboy.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
That's a lot for a closer. 10. You're not a closer anymore if you blow 10 games. I mean, my goodness. That's
he's mentally broken too. Like, it's to the point where, like, Dodger fans aren't even mad at him; they're more mad at the Dodgers for putting him out there.
Putting him in,
right? It's more so.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, guys, like, he's done.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Major League Baseball has decided it is time to put balls and strikes not just in the hands of the umpires, but also the robot umpires, as they say. The ABS system is now officially in place starting next season. Now, keep in mind, they're not just throwing this out there. They have used this at the Arizona Fall League, and they've also used it at different levels of the minor leagues as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Everything changed at that point. They went and got Jonquel Jones, and they really had that triple threat monster team. That second year they lost in the WNBA Finals, 3-1 against the Las Vegas Aces. Year 3, they finally get over the top hump. You can question whether they should have won the title with that foul call late in Game 5 that sent Breanna Stewart to the foul line.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. You can hear me loud and clear. I'm here with George Kurtz as we wrap up the show here on this wacky edition of FST. Before we get to the SportsGrid 60, let's take a look at the first round in fantasy football. If you redrafted based on what you've seen now, Jonathan Taylor, number 1 overall pick. Yeah, that's fair. Puka Nacua 2, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson, James Cook. I may bump James Cook up, by the way, man. I don't know about you, George. Doesn't this guy look like the number 1 pick or number 2 pick? I don't know. Christian McCaffrey, Amon-Ra, Barkley, Achane, no thanks. Jackson Smith at Jigba, Bucky Irving. Does he look that good? Nico Collins. Boy, this whole list is like, wow, I feel like we could do this, George, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later go, oh my gosh, we screwed up again.
Well, that's the way it works, right? That is the way it works. And by the way, I did say during the break that same thing. I would raise James Cook. Probably not number 1, but his schedule is just so. I mean, the Buffalo Bills schedule is cake. He should have a really good season. I'm probably putting him in my top 3, if not top 2. We're nitpicking here, by the way. You know, because I think the top 12 guys is pretty much the top 12 guys. Probably not taking Nico Collins at all because the offensive line's putrid. And C.J. Stroud, by the way, Craig, they got to make a decision on Stroud. Is he a franchise quarterback? Are you going to pay him $250 million? You know, and he was bad last year and not any better this year. Is it him? Is it the offensive line? So the decision's going to need to be made there. Bucky Irving, we really haven't seen the best of him yet, but I do think he'll play better as the season goes on here. Odunze has been great, although I do think there'll be weeks where he doesn't do much because it's a DJ Moore week or it's a Burden week or the Chicago Bears just suck that week, whatever it might be. So, but I think the top 12 players pretty much are accurate here. Chains look good. Barkley, Brown's been fantastic again. Gibbs, it's hard to argue with the top 12, but I'm sure we could sneak in a guy or 2 in there.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, the big one for me is Cook. I mean, James Cook to me, with the way Buffalo's rolling, seems to be next year maybe top 2, top 3 pick in the draft, I would think. All right, before we wrap it up, let's have a final thought. Could be football, baseball, who knows? Let's do it. SportsGrid 60 is on.
or it could be hockey. My fantasy hockey draft is, my home league draft is on Tuesday. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk about that. But it is on Tuesday night. What I'm going to talk about is I found it hilarious this week. Everyone's making a big deal about the Tom Brady thing. He's in the owner's box, which is fine. But he's also, the commentator for Fox. And then Brady comes out, oh, I'm very ethical. Of course I wouldn't do anything. Yeah, okay, Mr. Deflategate. Mr. Broke my phone to make sure you couldn't do it, couldn't look at it here. I'm deflating balls in the bathroom where there are no cameras. Yeah, you're completely ethical. All right, I just found that extremely. By the way, if Tom Brady, if someone's giving him information, whenever with the Bear-Cowboy game, the Raiders played the Bears and Cowboys this year. If someone giving him information he could use and he wasn't telling it to the Raiders, the team he's part owner of, I would be pretty pissed off if I'm a Raiders guy. All right, because isn't that part of your ethical job would be to tell your owner, your team, your coaches, so you can have a better chance of winning? I put this more. Listen, I don't think you should have both jobs. I don't, but I put this more on the coaches. This would be more on Ben Johnson, Schottenheimer to me. Don't tell him anything. All right, just be blah here. But do what Rex Ryan said, where you're just feeding these guys a load of crap, which I'm sure they do half the time anyway. All right, but please, Tom, don't tell me you're the most ethical person on the planet here. We've been through this already. You're not. I enjoy you on the games. I certainly enjoy you since you retire. You have a better personality here. But please don't try to pee down my back and tell me it's raining.
Right. Wait till the Raiders win 10 games next year or the year after. All of a sudden, it's going to be like, oh, it's Brady stealing the info, right? So, look, there's a lot of people out there. It's a mix of fantasy. We have these discussions during the show, before the show. I'm sure you're playing in multiple fantasy football leagues. If you're not, you're playing in one. Good for you. That's awesome. But most of us are playing in multiple. So at this point, some of you are 3-0, some of you are 0-3, 1-2, 2-1. Here's where things are at. If you are 3-0, you're in great shape, but your season is far from over and someone can catch you, and there's no guarantee you're going to win the Super Bowl in fantasy. None. 2-1, 1-2, you're about fine. You're where you need to be. The question is, if you're like me in one of my leagues, what do you do if you're 0-3? Folks, if you're 0-3, in your fantasy football league and you play a 13-week regular season, you got to win this week. Sorry to say. Now, if you're in a league that's points at the end and you're doing well and that gets you in, okay, fine. But 0-4 in fantasy, folks, that's the end of the line. Hopefully it's not for me this week. Oh, gosh, that would stink. George, have a great weekend. We'll see you back here next week on FST.
Absolutely. Everybody enjoy. Remember, 9:30 a.m. Eastern, set your lineup Sunday.
Yep, make sure you get them in. Thanks again to George. For our producer, Sam, I'm Craig Mish. Good luck this week in your fantasy football matchups. We'll see you next week.
Football contest.
Jalen Hurts is a very good quarterback, and quite frankly, he doesn't get enough grace, I should say, for saying, I win football games. What would you rather? We go play Mahomes, and, oh, man, 41-40, Hurts, 375, 4 touchdowns, they lost. Boy, that guy's good. Or no, hey, you know what? I'm going to play within myself. I'm not going to turn the football over. I'm going to play within the game script here, and we're just going to win. Doesn't matter who gets the accolades.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
The biggest games, the biggest bets that you need to know. So much fun already, Joe. I feel
Yeah,
like
I'm
we got
having a good
lot
time.
of information
Love
now.
it. Yeah. Good games,
Yeah.
not great, but again, it's college football. You can bet on them, nothing better.
Bet it, win it. By the way, and I always like to say this, and it's true. You can have the worst game in the world. You cash your ticket, it's like a Picasso. That game was the best game I ever watched in my life.
Are you kidding?
Exactly.
Especially when you're hitting parlays.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Two favorites are still the two favorites. So for me, it's just whether or not you got Herbert at a better price or if you think there's a better price to get at this point. But I mean, with the way Josh Allen plays and generally Lamar Jackson, it still does appear to be a two-player race. The only thing, obviously, this is an injury league, Adam, and in the NFL, an injury that keeps you out 4 or 5 games, all of a sudden, those odds will shift.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. It's the most beautiful time of the year. No, not because of foliage or pumpkin spice lattes. It's because of football. SportsGrid has you covered all season long. covering every snap, every score, and every line move. Prepare, watch, win. Weekends are for winners. Only on SportsGrid.